So this dish is twice cooked pork. And what I actually have here, just very, very thin slivers of cooked pork that are then going to be fried. So we get them with a slightly kind of crispy edge about them. And this is great, of course, if you've got some pork, roast pork that you want to use up the very next day. This couldn't be a better dish. So, first of all, we're going to heat up the pan with some oil, ready for frying them off. And we can allow this to get really quite hot, so we get a good bit of fire in it before dropping in the pork. Right, so now we're just going to add the strips of pork into the pan, which will start and begin to fry in just, there we are, we can just hear it now. And as it begins to fry, I shall start turning them around the pan to get that even cooking. And as I said, trying to achieve that little crispness around the outside. And don't worry if one or two pieces break down, because they're all still going to be very, very tasty to eat. Now, as you can see, as I'm beginning to turn these over, we're getting that nice golden brown. So that's exactly what we're after, that change of colour. With that, of course, it means change of flavour, change of texture. You can just start to feel that the edges are becoming just slightly crispy. And you can let this crisp till it really is quite crunchy, almost like crackling. But I want it slightly softer than that, because I prefer that succulence of the pork all the way through, just taking on that little edge. And that's what I want to show you. Just this nice little sort of crispness here. You can see how that's firming up to a nice golden brown. Very close. And this is the first stage of the cooking, because this goes through sort of two stages. Firstly, it's just pre-frying these. Out they come. Then we're going to make the sauce and just roll them back into the sauce. It's as quick and as simple as that. Now, this is what I want to show, because I think this is just right. That's the kind of golden brown that I'm after. Just like that. It's got a slight crunch, but still, as you can see, not totally stiff. Got a still touch of texture left in it. Okay, right. Now we can spoon these out, just allowing some of that fat to drain off. Some are going to be softer than others, and that's what's going to give us the great variety when eating it. So from that very tender, just going on to that little bit of crunchy, as you can see. Now, something else I'm going to do, notice there is quite a lot of oil left in the pan there. Well, I'm going to pour some of that away, just on the cloth there to dry off, leaving just a little bit left in, of course, which has taken on the pork flavour anyway. So we can now add that, and I'm going to add to this some chili paste, quite a rich, nice red chili paste to this, and you can be as liberal or as careful as you wish. We'll add that amount. So after the chili, we've got, again, the black bean sauce, or more of a paste, really, as you can see. Very, very thick. Black bean to that. And just to fire it up that little bit more, I've got chili powder in here. And I only want to add just a little trickle. So let's now stir that around. Just cook that for literally 30 seconds. And I'm going to just loosen that with a little touch of chicken stock, or just water will be quite enough. Just a little bit. Before adding the pork back to the pan. So you can see it there now. We've allowed that to cook out. We've taken the heat onto it, so it's taken out any of the rawness left in those pastes. And in goes the pork little strips. Let's stir those around. And you can smell that full flavour that's going on there. And now I'm going to add the Shaoxing wine, the rice wine, or it's almost like a vinegar, quite sharp in its flavour. Little drizzle of that. Along with a little drizzle of a dark soy sauce. Stir that around. And now, just to loosen that back out, because that does smell quite strong, you need to add a touch more water or chicken stock, as I mentioned. And that's going to loosen up that sauce beautifully. Because the next thing we're going to add is pak choy. These wonderful leaves which will allow just to soften slightly but still texture. So let's just throw in some of these with it. As you can see. And these you can actually, just tear them down. You can leave them whole. You can actually do whatever you actually wish with them. If they're quite large, just break them, tear them. But they are wonderful to eat. Okay. Let's stir this around. And once they're beginning to wilt and soften, the dish is almost ready to serve. A little touch more stock. Right. So you can see now how those leaves are just beginning to wilt, but still leaving a slight little crunch texture in the stalk, which is great to eat. We're going to add a little touch of salt here, and also sugar to help sweeten against the richness of that chili. There we are. And I think this is virtually done. With spring onions on top. Now you can see in the pan here, I think that looks absolutely delicious. You can just see in the pan a nice almost simmering now from that little touch of stock, or I said water, of course, you can add to it. You can smell it. It's got so many flavours that are going on, and I think this is ready to serve. I need some space here. There we are. Can just literally spoon this on top. And notice here how I've kept it so it's not dry, but just allowing all of the flavours to be collected by that pork, so you get them with every single taste. You can loosen this down so it creates more of a loose sauce to go with it. So really it's personal choice. this one is really quite fiery, but very, very good to eat. And this, remember, is simply twice cooked pork. The last spoonful on top. And I'm going to also finish now just with a tiny trickle of chili oil.
Okay.
Just a few little dots around the plate, picking it up as you eat. It's as simple as that. Twice cooked pork.